It was a snowy day. The snow was about 1.5 feet, 2 feet high. And my wife and I took it for granted that he wanted to see us because of the iches, because of the fact that my wife is the 6th generation removed from the original Zalman Shneur rabbi, and that she is a Slonim. And I didn't even think that there was any other reason for that invitation. So my wife was really very proud of it. We drove to Brooklyn. We were driving I remember a Ford station wagon at the time, and we parked it. There was a whole line of cars in front of his place on Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn. And we treaded in the snow, and we came in, and it looks like the shamus expected us. When I said my name, he said, "Oh, Yaakov ben Eliezer, follow me, please, and here are the instructions. The rabbi is seated behind the desk. You are going to come and sit in the front row. There are a lot of people here waiting for the rabbi to get a blessing, and you are limited to 15 minutes. So I said, okay. And as we came in, I saw this room, that there were rows of wooden chairs, like long connected stools, and a big elongated desk, and he was behind it. And all I saw is the big humbug and the smiling blue eyes. And there was a bare wall behind him, like a wooden wall, just about bare. There were no decorations. And I didn't even notice there was anything on that wall until my wife took her place, and I stood up and I said, "Rabbi, Kvod Harav, Hebrew, English?" And he said to me, smiling, "Or Italian, or French, or German?" And I said, "French, German?" And he said, he pointed with the finger like this behind his shoulder. And he says, "Yes, I speak a little French." And I saw that it was a diploma for what they call ingénieur d'électricité, electrical engineer. And I said, "You are an electrical engineer?" And he said, smiling, "Yes." And I said, I really, it's hard to conceive a rabbi who is also an electrical engineer. And he said, "Well, sit down, and first of all, let me give you my blessing for you and your wife, and for many years of happiness and this." And then he said, "Now, I hear from Rabbi Besser that you're an electrical engineer yourself." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "And Rabbi Besser is giving you compliments as a knowledgeable engineer. And this is where I would like to ask you some questions, if you don't mind. I want you to explain to me some things." And I said, "What is it that I can explain to you?" And he said, "I hear that there's something new coming around, which is something called transistor, solid state." And I said, "Of course, this is the future." And he said, "Can you explain to me, what is it all about? How does it work? How does it work?" He was really eager to really get to know details about it. And before you know it, he had a yellow pad. And I pulled my pen, he had a pencil, and I came to the table. And what turned supposed to have been a 15 minutes meeting turned up to be close to 2 hours. Every 15 minutes, the shamus would come in and say, "Rabbi," and the rabbi would just signal to him to go away. And I explained to the rabbi that the vacuum tube is being substituted by a solid state device that does the same job as a vacuum tube. And he said to me, "But a vacuum tube has so much elements in it. It has an anode and a cathode and a grid." And I said, "That's right. And this is being replaced by an emitter and a collector. And the size is utterly miniaturized." And so he said, "But that means that the whole electronic industry is going to go into a miniaturization," which is like really seeing the future in one sentence. And I said, "That's precisely what's happening and what will happen, especially in the branch of computers." Now, when I finished Brooklyn Polytech, the last course that I took was in binary science, which is the foundation of the science of computers. And I tried to explain it to him. And we went through that too. And the conversation went into more details and details into the individual fields in electronics, like audio, for example. My specialty was audio amplifiers, since I'm involved in classic music. And I was building amplifiers at that time called the Williamson amplifier, which was very famous. So we went into the details, like a whole Williamson amplifier, how the weight and the size of the Williamson amplifier, which weighed at least 4 or 5 pounds, and into an amplifier that would produce the same amount of power, amplified audio power, which is a small fraction of that weight. And he was fascinated. He was so interested. And when the interview was over, he thanked me profusely, and he said something I'll never forget as long as I live. He said, "You know, Yaakov ben Eliezer, when people come to sit here and listen to me, I'm the rabbi and they're the pupils. Today, you are the rabbi and I was the pupil." And I'll never forget it. This was really a compliment that followed me for the years.